Welcome, everyone, to the Infinite Star Connections podcast. We are super excited today. We are the joy and the very pleasure of welcoming James Gilliland to the show. And it's going to be an amazing conversation, lots of energy. I know many of you have been waiting for James to come back to the show, and he is here today. So let us introduce ourselves. We are your hosts. My co-host Jeff Demers, and my name is Vivian Chauvette. Jeff is the CEO and the executive director for the Infinite Voice Project, as well as a Galactic ambassador and a star seed for the Ponte. I am the owner of Infinite Healing from the Stars, and I am also an Octane hybrid in a transverse channel for many intergalactic groups. But today it's about our guest, James. We want to welcome to the show, and allow me to introduce you properly, even though you need no introduction. Your presence speaks for itself. Allow me just to, for our folks joining us today. So James is a best-selling author, internationally known lecturer, minister, counselor, and he has multiple near-death experience as well as a contactee. He is the facilitator of many Eastern disciplines. He is a visionary dedicated to the awakening and healing of humanity and the earth. And he's teaching us also higher dimensional realities from experience. James is recognized worldwide as the founder of the Gilliland Estate, commonly known as the ECETI Ranch. Yes, the ECETI Ranch, the Enlightened Contact with Extraterrestrial Intelligence, where it documents and shares amazing multidimensional contact phenomena that can be viewed right at the ECETI.org website. It was initiated by a venerable Lama, Lama Rinpoche, and given the name of, oh my God, we'll have to talk about that, Norbu, but we'll talk about the name you were given, which means jewel of pure awareness. Jane, we can go on and on with everywhere you spoke, Contact in the Desert, Star Knowledge Conferences, the International UFO Congress, and so forth. James, welcome.
Oh, thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, you are so welcome. Thank you for accepting our invitation and taking the time out of a very busy schedule. I know that there's a lot of things going on for you, going on right now. But, just to connect with our audience, let's see where you are right now, especially when things are moving on the planet, lots of changes. And let's talk about your experience. Anything lately that has been more predominant for you?
The UFO activity here has really increased. We call them IFOs because we know who's on the ships and their cultures and everything else. But we've talked a lot about. Unfortunately, in the UFO community, they really censor anything outside nuts and bolts, or they're keeping everything in the past, or nuts and bolts, or it's either back engineered or German or things like that. But there's five other boxes they can check, because you've got off-worlders, you got very spiritually and technologically advanced beings, you got multidimensionals, you have beings that are less dense physical, some are energy beings and light beings and Merkabas, and they have light ships and energy ships and everything else. So, and then there's time travel too. So it's all the above, and unfortunately there's a lot of groups that want to pigeonhole it into their program or their group. But it's really important to look into the big picture, what's really going on, and it's massive. What's happening right now is we've already been invaded. It's called reincarnation, and there's so many people that have incarnated here from the star nations and from the really advanced civilizations that came for this time, whatever you want to call it, the Great Awakening, the shift, the ascension. But they're here now, and they're being initiated and awakened, and the star families are here now, and we're getting ready for this huge shift that we're undergoing, and it's tied into the central sun. All the other suns are connected. They're reacting with coronal mass ejections and solar flares. The Schumann resonance is off the scale right now, and we're going through one massive global therapy session right now. I mean, everything's coming up for everyone. There's no getting away from it. So that's basically what I've been seeing right now is unfolding. And when we have a lot of help that's here to help us in this birthing process too. You got the Andromedans, the Arcturians, the Sirians, the Pleiadians, the Orion Council of Light, all these guys are helping us get through this process.
Definitely. Yeah, we're getting a lot of assistance, but also at the same time, the invitation is for everyone to rise into their own empowerment and their light and understanding who they are. Especially right now, there's a lot of uncertainty. I hear that a lot when I do my private session with people. They always ask me, "Well, where do I stand? Where do I go from there?" There's a sense, a little bit of life as they known it is kind of being redefined, and people feel that aspect of their life being invalidated. So
Yeah.
with who you work with and the intelligence and the information you're getting, James, what would be a good advice or guidance for people today to help everyone to keep going in a higher form?
Well, I think the main thing right now is that we've got to deal with our shadow side, and that's the old wounds and traumas and wrong conclusions from past experiences. And those things are keeping our frequency down. So we have to realize there's two sides of the coin, and being enlightened means to be in knowledge of both sides, that they're both at play here, and deal with our own shadow side, because the unseen negative influences are working through our shadow side to get to us and things. So we have chinks in our armor, so we've got to clear those out, and those chinks in the armor. And I know one thing's happening right now is a lot of people are being preyed on by their own empathy, and so that it's opening a door, and they're using our own empathy against us, so we're going to have to set some firm boundaries, in the days to come, and say, no, it's time for personal responsibility. It's time to make the right choices. It's time to, get on track with this awakening healing process. And, it's not my job to fix and carry everybody. And whether it be physically, emotionally, mentally, whatever, it's time for people to really go within. And I'm seeing right now, it's so important to release the past and take personal responsibility for what's unfolding in your life and your own emotions and what's coming up within everyone. And also get the tools, because some of these emotions you're feeling aren't even yours. There's unseen negative influences that have mental and emotional bodies. They may not have a physical body, but they're affecting our mental and emotional body, and especially the empaths and the people that are really sensitive are really getting hammered right now, because you've got the psychic turbulence of the collective process. You've got the unseen negative influences and things like that. So it's about self-mastery, becoming the observer, practicing loving detachment and getting back to your center. And I do that in nature. I get out in nature and I get my hands in the ground and start gardening and things like that. And that really helps me get through. The plants don't argue with you. They don't have a belief system. They just go on the ground and grow, and you talk nice to them, and they'll give back to you. It's pretty much that simple. I like the simplicity of that.
Love it. I love it, James. I completely relate to you when it comes to that, the simplicity. It's return to the essential, the pristine energy of connecting with nature, the plants, the consciousness, the roots, the earth herself. So I could visualize you right hand deep in the garden and in that connections. Absolutely.
That's where I am usually. I'm usually, people come up here and I'm the guy in the ditch, digging the ditch or repairing everything, all dirty and muddy. And people come up to the ranch and they go, well, when's James coming out? And it's really funny because they think I'm up in some ivory tower meditating or something like that. And
yes.
And I just tell him, I said, yeah, that guy, he never comes down. He just barks out orders, from his tower. And then they see me later, when we have the healing circles or the radio show, and they go, oh God, that was him. It's kind of funny, but I have fun with it. To me, I really like the physical work, the grounding of it. I have to do that to stay grounded.
Oh, absolutely. And do you see a difference, James, when you help on the physical level, the grounding level, and connecting also to the earth and the elementals, a difference in the quality or the clarity of your interconnections or your communications with, other form of intelligence?
Yeah, definitely. We're having a lot of inner Earth activity here now, whereas before they kind of more kept to themselves, and they're based in the mountain, and they have a major civilization there underneath Mount Adams. And so there's Mount Adams has all these different levels to it. One is like a galactic airport, that things are going in and out of. And then you have the inner Earth groups down below, and you've got the Elven beings and the Fairy King, all that stuff going on. But I noticed lately they're coming out now, and the more you're interacting with nature, and like I'm planting trees everywhere, and reforesting areas and things like that. They just love that. And when they see you doing that, they get kind of excited and they start hanging out and they go, "Yeah, he's one of us," So it's important right now that we have to find that harmony, that balance, and get out in nature more and work with nature and things of that nature.
Absolutely, James. I also relate to what you said earlier. It's time to really release our shadow aspects and also redefining, especially for the hypersensitive people, the empath, to be able to understand what's really coming to your energy field when
Yeah.
it's not yours. Um, would it be any ways or advice or guidance to give to the audience in terms of one way to do that, to be able to clear or make the difference between what belongs to me and not what's not belong to me?
Yeah, definitely. What's really interesting is I just say not mine. When that energy starts coming, I go, wait a second, not mine. And then I tap in and I find out where it's coming from. And it doesn't even matter if it's yours or not, because it isn't who you really are anyway. It's just some garbage you picked up along the road. And I connect with the higher dimensional beings. So it's a matter of being the observer, always observing yourself and your environment, the changes in your environment. And we have a saying, if you don't like what you're feeling, do a healing. So we have a technique. It's on our website. It's in my books, How to Heal Unseen Negative Influences and Reestablish Your Self-Authority and things of that nature. But we teach that in courses. And that's one of the main things we teach right off the bat is how to discern, whether something is in your highest and best good, and how to heal unseen negative influences, because that's a must right now, because so many people are being led astray. I see that. I see people that in either in ignorance or willingly working with some pretty dark entities, and all these people are following them, and of course they're aligned with Hollywood, and they're aligned with, they get the press, they're the main speakers in a lot of these events, and people can't see what's standing right next to them, or what they're connected to, or what's behind them. And a lot of times it could be the grays or reptilians or things like that. And people are just, and they'll start name dropping. I was saying the other day, I said, I want to give my condolences to some of the people in the UFO community for losing some of their friends and sponsors, due to the military tribunals. you know? And so, a lot of them are getting taken out, and unfortunately, there's a lot of satanic Luciferian energy coming in to the UFO community and the spiritual community, as well as the pedophile movement. All that stuff is and people need to do some research before they follow somebody. You shouldn't follow anybody. I tell people you shouldn't even follow me, because everybody has your own unique purpose for being here, and I'm just bending things back, empowering you to wake up and remember who you are. But I tell people, if you follow me, you're lost, because you have your own unique purpose, and I'm not infallible. So it's very important to make your own personal connection with Creator, and find out who you are and why you incarnated, why you're here, and then get on with your soul mission.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's really is the core of wisdom is that you can inspire yourself from other people like yourself,
Mm-hmm.
James, so people can inspire. The same thing what we do, we inspire people to really return their empowerment and just, I call it to clear the weeds out of the way so you can have a clearer path to welcome back aspect of yourself. So we're very much on the same level in terms of, you get inspiration, but also you use higher discernment. I like that you mentioned that. Use higher discernment of what you do, because one thing I hear a lot, and I'm sure you must too, James, is that I call it the buffet stage where there's so much all kind of information. People are already looking from different channel, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, social media, and then they absorb a lot of information. But it's like where there's the discernment in that, correct?
Yeah, we have a thing we call it Facebook spirituality, and people have all the words, they have all the buzzwords, they say all the right things and everything else, but if you know them personally, their life's in the toilet, and the way they treat people off stage is completely different. And I've been in this field for like 37 years or something like that now, and just with the ECETI Ranch, and before that I was involved in it as well. And so I've been around the block, and I know kind of who's who in the circuit and things like that, and what their real goals are, and I think it's so important to establish the come from, what's your come from, what's your agenda, are you here to empower, awaken, and heal? Are you here for the money and the notoriety and that, and people need to get really serious, with that. Are you trying to get the love, acceptance, and approval outside of yourself that you didn't get as a child through this venue, or are you really here in full service mode? And there are some people that are here willingly and to steer people, in the wrong direction, either via their influences that they're hooked up to, or their government shills or things like that. They're here to kind of to divide and disrupt and things, So, and we need to just really use discernment when we're in these fields.
Oh, more than ever, more than ever. And looking at the evolutionary stage on the planet right now, with especially with the kind of assistance we're getting, and also what is a disinformation. I'm curious just to know if, on the ranch, if you've noticed maybe certain groups of either its elementals or interstellar beings, or maybe a little bit more present right now. Have you noticed a difference in that direction?
Yeah, it's well, we have a galactic medicine wheel, and we honor all the different their pods, kind of like, and so we have the Arcturians, the Andromedans, the Orion Counts of Light, we have the Pleiadians, and they all have a part on the wheel, the elementals, the masters, and when you go in there and you stand in that area, it's been charged with their energy, and people just have full-blown initiations when they do it. So, and everybody's different, everybody's unique, and everybody has different Star Nation connections. And so one person might go into the Syrian section where the feline beings are and just blow wide open and start crying, or when they come in during the healing sessions and things like that, and another person wouldn't feel anything, because they don't have that they don't have that inner sensitivity, or they're not really connected to that group. And then same thing, they'll go onto the Palladian side, and all of a sudden, boom, they blow wide open. The other person's going, I don't feel that, And most people I know that come for transpersonal release sessions, they're usually multiple. They'll have like Arcturian, Palladian, Syrian, or Palladian, Orion, Syrian, or they've had multiple lifetimes in these other star nations. Some were on a very high level, some are fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh dimensional. We're getting a lot of people that incarnated that were sixth dimensional Palladians coming in lately, and they're really struggling right now because they're just so they're beautiful beings, they're very wise, they're very loving and just compassionate, and they're just so expanded, they're having trouble dealing with the shifts we're going through right now. and they just don't feel. And the same thing with the other groups too. They just feel they're from somewhere else, and they go, look, I don't believe this way. I don't live this way, and especially Palladians have a really hard time when they incarnate here, because it's hard for them to comprehend that somebody would actually steal from them or lie to them or vampire off them or whatever. They're kind of naive sometimes, and they just get really beat up down here, and they don't feel like they don't belong. And then you have other beings like in the Orion system. They went through all the wars and everything else. They're street savvy, they see the darkness, they sense it right off, and so they call it out, like, no, not going there, I know this one, and things like that. So there's so many different groups here, and hopefully eventually we can get back to where the Palladians can be comfortable here. Everybody's on the same page, everybody's in service mode, everybody's being kind and loving to each other and the planet. And that's the destiny. That's eventually where we're going.
Do you think that we could achieve that still here on Earth?
Not everybody. Some people have chosen not to take that path, but that's where the Earth's going. So, if you're not frequency specific to this ascension process, you'll go and do your thing somewhere else. There's other places for you to go. And a lot of those people are transitioning, especially the people that their hearts are closed and they're in that tyranny mode or things like that. Well, they're in a very constricted consciousness. Their hearts are very constricted, and they're not dealing with these new energies coming in very well. And so a lot of them are just dropping. Their whole world is collapsing. Even their bodies are collapsing. And so we're seeing now that it's the tyranny, the last waltz of tyranny, whatever you want to call it, of the tyrants. This is their last go. They're imploding on themselves. They're not frequency specific to the energies coming in, and the energies coming in go all the way to the creator. It's like the creator itself has said, we're going to the next level. All the other star nations are involved in this and helping this birthing process, and the inner earth. And so there's this sandwich going on, because the earth is ascending, the other beings are pressing in, and the people that don't want to go or want to continue with the old plan are stuck in the middle, and they're getting agitated, and they're going kind of crazy right now. It's that end time madness. They're going nuts with these energies, and that's why we're getting a lot of that chaos. But it's just, chaos is part of the process. It's part of the healing. And so we're going to go through some real chaos here very quickly, and then it's going to flip, back
out of chaos comes order.
Yeah. So we're going to go through some chaos, because you're seeing semantics, when they turn the energy up and everything goes into chaos and it takes a new form. Mm-hmm. And then you turn it up again and it goes into chaos and it takes a new form again. And so that's kind of what we're doing. All this energy is coming in. It's pushing everything up that needs to be healed or looked at or transformed. And then we cruise, and then we have a new form, and then we're just going through levels and levels and levels. And it's like that energy coming in is increasing exponentially. So it's just getting stronger and stronger and stronger. So if you didn't heal the last round, the next round is going to hit you like a truck, so it's and it's unstoppable, and nobody can stop this process. You can take yourself out, and whoever else is aligned with you that isn't operating with universal law, if they chosen to tie their cart, to your horse, basically, that's their choice. And that's what I'm saying right now. We all are given that choice of, are we going to align with universal law? Are we going to start being kind to each other and the planet? Are we going to be in service to self or service to others? We're all choosing right now where we're going to go. And like the Hopi prophecies, they said the people that are choosing that service to self and want to control and dominate and all that, they're on a downward spiral, which is going to be amplified, and that's going to take them out, basically. And the people that choose to live a loving spiritual life in harmony with nature and each other and are in disservice to others, they're going to take the upward spiral, which is going to be continuous. So the energy coming in doesn't judge. It's a great amplifier. It's going to accelerate and amplify everything. And when you set negative things into motion, it's going to be amplified. And it's like instant karma. Things can be happening really quickly.
What I don't understand is, as smart as the old guard is, they've got to know that their time is up, right? I mean, they have to know. And why even resist it?
Yeah. Well, it's really hard to get into their head and think like them, because they don't think like we do. And they're not, it's the ego. When it gets to a certain level, it thinks it's God, and it thinks it calls all the shots, and it thinks it can do anything. And some of these guys, that's what they're doing. Like when they harm the children and things like that, that's the ultimate slap in the face to God. Like, I'm above you. I can do whatever I want.
Right.
And so these people, they have no respect for life. To them, it's all about power and control and money. And that's where they're going. But
that's a finite attitude,
Yeah. But they're so locked in their ego. They don't believe there's karma. They don't believe that there's a higher force that's going to come down on their head. They're so in their mind. It's insanity, really. It is insanity, but it's their, it's like a narcissist. It's the same thing. They think nothing's going to happen to them, because it's all about them. Everything revolves about them and their sense of gratification, whatever they can get. And they just think they're untouchable. But
everybody's got an Akashic record.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So anyway, the hammer's coming down, and there is action reaction that is going to be accelerated and amplified. And and also too, that it's kind of sad, but in a way it's a healing, is if we're still being a victim and carrying those wounds and traumas around, that's going to be amplified too. So you're going to have the victims lashing out against the persecutors. And so that's going to be, so there's this wheel, and you've got the victim, persecutor, savior triangle, and it's this hamster wheel. And we have to just step off of that wheel and become the observer and let it work itself out. And I get caught up. I jump into the savior all the time, and then I end up getting burned. I go, whoa, wait a second, because a lot of times victims will try to get either emotional or financial support from others by playing the victim role. So you jump in there and you try to save them and help them. And then if you don't meet their expectations of what they want or trying to get, then you're the persecutor, right? And then in their mind, even though you're not. And if you say, okay, I'm done with this, look, you need to, I'm going to empower you to stand on your own right now, then you're the evil guy, So it's this hamster wheel. And it all boils down to personal responsibility, basically. Are you going to take personal responsibility for, the world in which you live and the people you magnetize and events, people and events you've magnetized to you, and own it and heal those patterns that created that? Or are you going to just continue to do this? And I think that's where people are going to have to pull back and say, you know what, from now on, this is, personal responsibility. Everybody has to take responsibility. We have to go within and heal these patterns, and we can serve people by being an example and healing ourselves first, and then helping people to understand, how to teach them tools to heal themselves, become the observer, and how to heal these other influences.
Absolutely. And many people are always asking about, how can I do that? How can I heal myself now that people are hearing more and more about what's coming to the surface, to chaos, to really heavy duty karma and so forth. So that's one question I can read in a post, and even people asking is, I'm having a hard time dealing with all of this. How do we deal with all of this? How do we go about healing ourselves?
Well, first thing we have to realize, we're not alone. Like, the whole world's going through this. I mean, we're all going through it. And some have a little more tools than others, to deal with it, and or have already done a lot of their homework already, so it's easier. I was meditating once, and Babaji told me, he said, some people are going to be hit like a feather, and some people are going to be hit like a brick, depending on your frequency, or you're taking personal responsibility and becoming the observer and healing. So it's so important right now to get out into nature. I love that saying, this too shall pass. Let go, let God. It's not as bad as we think it is. Usually we can always shift that energy, but we have to do it by going within and shifting it with ourselves first. And then, it's all about forgiveness too. I tell people one of the most powerful weapons you're ever going to have in your tool belt is forgiveness. And because when you truly forgive somebody, it leaves your field and it goes to theirs, and it's amplified. And then they're going to create an experience around that event, and they're going to have their lesson, And so you shouldn't do it to harm others. You should do it so you can get clear and get it out of your field. But people don't realize how powerful that is that, the reason, I love that saying, the only reason anybody has any power over you is because you want something from them. And you either want their love, their acceptance, their approval, you're financially dependent on them. There's something there. And when you become sovereign and you find that love and acceptance and approval within yourself, and you're anchored in that, then you're really walking in your power. And then you teach people by that example. And I'm not saying by any means I'm perfect. I haven't mastered this myself. It's not an easy walk. And I always tell people, there's an old yogic saying, the closer you get to nirvana, the more the demons rear their ugly heads. So the more you're moving into whatever you call it, Christ consciousness or Buddha consciousness, the more other influences are going to try to stop you. And that comes with the territory. And also too, one of the master teachers I studied with, he said, I love what he said. He said, this kid came up to me, he says, I want to become the Christ, and he said, you do? And he said, yes. And he goes, they'll hate you. And he goes, what do you mean? He goes, what do you mean? And he goes, well, you're going to become a mirror, and you're going to amplify and accelerate everything they love and don't love about themselves. And they're going to project that on you. And he said, are you ready for that? And you really have to really think this out, because the higher your frequency, the more you're going to agitate others by bringing their it's sympathetic resonance. Like one person has a high frequency, meets another person, it's going to start bringing them up, because and then to come up, they have to release their old wounds and traumas and wrong conclusions from past experience. And very few people will own that. They project, they project it on everybody else. And so if you're operating from a really high consciousness level, you're going to become a mirror, and you mirror back to them what they love and don't love about themselves, and you're going to amplify it too. So it's relationships. That's why relationships are so rough right now, is because that's happening. Like everybody's being lifted up, and so many people are projecting and blaming and not going within and owning what they're feeling and the experiences and the predicament they've created. And so they're lashing out or projecting or blaming it. That's a very disempowering path to take. But some people will do it until it doesn't work anymore, until they realize, okay, I'm going to try something else. That doesn't work.
Absolutely. That is amazing, James. I mean, I get so many people say, spot on, that's very inspiring. Thank you. Forgiveness is the way. And it really, what you're saying really touches people's heart and gives everyone empowerment and more light. We do have a question for you, James, from our one and only Divine Fractal. Divine Fractal is asking, please ask James if he or people around you have noticed more angelic beings recently.
Definitely. A lot of activity with what they call the Elohim, which is actually plural for God. They're like God beings, have been coming in. A lot of the archangels are actually Andromedans. They're mythologically known as archangels, but they're 8 to 10 foot tall beings. and they have magnetic light bodies. They have magnetized light bodies, and they have huge energy bands. They go up and around them, and when they come in, they feather back, so they look like wings, but they don't flap their wings to fly. They just appear. Yeah, they just appear wherever they want to appear. There's a lot of beings, and so it's like I try to explain this sometimes with Mary's energy, because Mary's been with me all my life. She's at 5 years old. I was dying in the hospital, and she came and pulled me out of that. But she's been with me, and I tell people, you can't really separate Mary's energy from the ancient Lyrian energy or the Pleiadian energy. The Pleiadians they're an offshoot of the ancient Lyrians, but it's all interchangeable. So if you take the divine feminine and the Mary energies, it's very aligned with the Pleiadian energies, which are more matriarchal anyway. And it's, you know, a lot of people are actually talking to Pleiadians, and they think they're talking to an angel, you know, and they don't know. But when you really understand the real history of Earth and your multidimensional self, this all makes sense to you. But we have a little piece of the picture, and we have the religious piece here, and we have the science piece here, and then when you get all the pieces together, it makes sense, and you understand what's really happening.
Beautiful.
You know, I always thought that the wings did represent a magnetic field.
Yeah, it is.
I tell that to people, they're like, "Oh, you're crazy." No, they're wings. I said,
yeah,
they can't.
They look like wings, but it's just they feather back when they're coming into this dimension. They look like wings. I tell you a really good example. When my father died, we're all around him and you know, helping him with this transition. And his last words were, "Beam me up."
Huh.
So I go, why is my dad saying beam me up? You know? And so I went outside and I took a picture above the house, and I got this beautiful turquoise light ship. And it was with the Orion Council of Light. And he came in from the rank, and that's where he came in from. And there's so much more to this story, but as a kid, he was raised in New Mexico, and, you know, Roswell, all that stuff. And the Swenson Ranch, we sold. My grandfather and grandmother had the hardware store, and they sold them all the equipment. She knew all, was it Frazzle? All those people. They knew everybody. They knew the sheriffs, the first responders, everything. So that's always been a part of our family. But my dad would be driving down the highway. He'd pull over and he'd say, "Get out of the car," and we'd all get out, and he'd point up, and there'd be like 5 ships right over the car. Mm-hmm. And things like that. So we've had that all our lives. We've never even, you know, considered are they real? You know, that's not even a question, you know, for us. But it's, you know, heaven may not be as limited as people with harps and clouds. You know, there might be light ships there. There might be extremely advanced civilizations on a higher dimension. You know, it's all the above, you know, and when you get into the 4th dimension, then that's where all the crazy stuff goes on. You have high teachers and guides in the top of the 4th dimension, but they're still limited because they have some religious or cultural program they haven't transcended. So they're still on the wheel, they're stuck. In the mid-level 4th dimension, you have everyday people just reincarnating, you know, going back and forth. And the lower 4th dimension, that's where you have the crazy things go bump in the night, demonic, you know, astral, all that stuff going on. And so they say you have to go through hell to get to heaven. It's really true. You go through the 4th and through the psychic barrier, and then you're in the 5th dimension on up. And but it's right now what's happening is that lower 4th dimension is getting cleaned up, and it's getting taken, you know, the ones that aren't aligned with universal law are being taken out, and people draw power from these beings through ritual and through other things, and they're losing their overlords. They're being taken out, and now those people are floundering. So you're going to see a lot of what we thought were very powerful people just floundering right now because they don't even know how to make a decision. You know, all the decisions are being made from their dark overlords, you know. So it's a multidimensional cleanup that's going on, and we can actually participate in it from here. We can heal those unseen negative influences and call in the higher dimensional beings for help, to clear these energies out.
I have a question. I want to always, since we seen you at Contact in the Desert a couple years ago, and we did see Mary, me and Diana was there, and we were just like blown away. But who is she? What is she? Who is she?
Mary. Well, ever since I was dying of bronchial pneumonia in the hospital, and they would tell my parents that I was going to make it through the night several times. And then Mary would come to me and she would talk to me and stroke my head. And then the last day she gave me this little bowl of stuff to eat, and it looked like ice cream, but it wasn't cold or wet. It was just pure prana or some kind of energy. I think it was like crystallized or something. And I was never sick. I was never sick after that. I didn't miss a day of school or anything. And so I kept asking everybody, who's the woman in blue? Who's the woman in blue? Well, all the nurses wore green in this hospital. And so they go, well, you're hallucinating, or whatever. And it was as real as anything else to me, but I've always had that connection with her, and she's always been with me or at my side and she's shown me a lot of things and pulled me out of a lot of things. But Mary, in her physical incarnation here, was part of the ancient Lyrian colonies, her genetics. Mm-hmm. And so she had very, very high genetics. And then Gabriel, who appeared to Joseph and said, this is our child or my child, rear him as your own, because Joseph wasn't going to marry her because she was with child and he hadn't laid with her or anything. And so it was her genetics and the Andromedan genetics that created the vehicle for Jesus to come into, because he would have fried the synapses of any other vehicle. And he came from the plane of bliss. He was already mastered all material need. He was done. And he came back in to help us. And he was one with the one consciousness that encompasses all consciousness and all planes and dimensions throughout the multiverse, which we all have that opportunity. We have that spark that becomes the full flame, and that's what he taught. And so that was, he brought that seventh dimensional consciousness incarnated, brought it here to the earth, or that God consciousness, whatever you want to call it. And that's what people have a hard time understanding about that, is that, they said, well, he is God incarnate. And I said, well, who is he praying to? And while he was here incarnate, he had other beings that were God beings, that like Yahweh and things like that he was working with. But if you know the real history of Earth, there were two gods at one time. There was Jehovah, which is the Old Testament God, and Yahweh, which is the New Testament. And when Jesus incarnated, he brought us a new covenant, a new image of God, which is all loving and all forgiving, versus the wrathful, genocidal tyrant of the Old Testament, and, the jealous, wrathful dude. So when we really know our real history, then, because we're going like this, we're going, I love you, God, but don't torch me, don't, and until we understand what really happened, and then we can, we can let go of, we can just say, okay, let me have it, no more fear, no more guilt, no more unworthiness. I want to become one, with the one consciousness. And that was his prayer. He said, beloved Father, let them become one as we are one. I mean, that was his whole mission. But people miss that. They don't understand that. But it's a much bigger picture. All the disciples represented grand masters that he worked with on the other planes and dimensions. There was a much bigger picture going on. They all had special attributes and abilities, and they represented, he chose them they would represent one of these other. So there was a master plan that went on there, and it was big. It was much bigger, and it's not really what they teach in church. It's God is much bigger. There's multi-dimensions involved in it. And, if you want to get down to science right now, we can shoot a laser through a frog egg into a salamander egg, and the salamander will become a frog. So we can transfer DNA with a laser right now, and water holds the pattern for DNA. And so we can do that now. What do you think they can do? You don't think they can transfer their genetics into an embryo or whatever?
They've
And
been
that's
doing
been
it
going on
for
for a long time. We've been
centuries.
yeah, we've been getting these incredible upgrades. Well, they've been doing this for thousands of years and upgrading us, to get us, to evolve and go to the next level. So it's a divine science, and their science would be magic to us. It's beyond that, and it all ties into Creator. It's all connected.
Have you ever heard of an old book called the Terra Papers?
Mhm.
I've heard of it, but I haven't read it.
Robert Morningstar.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of it, but I haven't. I know that if we knew the real history of Earth, I mean, our most ancient ancestors are being recycled through molten rock right now, and so I mean, we're talking millions, billions of years. We've had colonies here on the Earth, and the latest one that we have knowledge of would be Atlantis and Lemuria, and those were actually Palladian colonies that were started by the Pleiades. There was actually colonies from the ancient Lyrians, the tall conehead guys that were here even before that, the antediluvian guys, and now they're under the Arctic. So almost everything is underneath the ice or beneath the seas, or it's being recycled, or it's been taken out with great wars and pole shifts and things like that. So the Earth has been colonized repeatedly, and we're just this massive genetic soup down here. Not just human genetics, but plant and animal genetics, because they brought their plants and their animals. It's like the sheep. Nobody knows where sheep came from. All of a sudden, they're just here.
Well, also, I always thought that Göbekli Tepe was a repository for the history of all the creatures on your Earth.
I wouldn't be surprised. Also, if you go to Gosford Glyphs in Australia, they have the whole history of Earth, and it shows the ships coming down, and they have star glyphs, hieroglyphs, and petroglyphs. And they have the ships coming down, and there was a man, the Denisovian man, that was here naturally, and they upgraded him. And then they had their cataclysm, and the next one where the Palladians came in, and again, another upgrade, another adding their DNA. They brought plants and animals in and terraformed the Earth. And it's all written in Gosford Glyphs, and the star glyphs and the hieroglyphs are very similar. So if you get somebody that can read hieroglyphs, they can read the star glyphs. And so it's all written there, right, in Gosford Glyphs, the whole history of Earth. They've tried to destroy that place several times, and luckily people stepped in and stopped it. But they were going to use it as a bombing range, and because it just was really messing with the status quo and all of our religious and historical programming has been incorrect.
I got wait, hang on, just one. I got one stupid question that I've been dying to ask you about the laser pointers.
Yeah.
When you point a laser at these crafts, does it bother them?
We usually circle them.
Okay.
We circle the craft, and they respond back. They respond back.
They don't shoot you though. I mean, they're like, don't point that laser thing at me.
No, they know. They know who we are. They know what we're doing down here. And they come in. They do their dazzle duty. They come down and do their thing. But no, it doesn't bother them, and they like it. And when you point them out, they flash back. They'll they just like last night. There were so many ships up there last night, and one guy goes, "Well, that's a satellite," and I go, and all of a sudden it just took off, and it went. There's another ship going. The other one just went like this and took off and caught up to it. And I said, "So show me a satellite that can accelerate like that and stop." Yeah. And checking this other craft out. So there's a lot going on up there. I think we're in a multidimensional war right now, and the degenerate ones are being taken out, and we're being protected. And so we have our own secret space fleet involved in that. We have the higher dimensional beings involved in that, and so it's a major cleanup and restoring universal law on the planet.
Do you think that Saturn's a prison planet?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Do you think that Saturn's a prison planet?
I don't get a good feeling about Saturn at all. I just don't even tune into it. That's where all the cults are tied to Saturn and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I know a lot about the moon. I mean, once we had no moon, then we had 2 moons, and now we have 1 moon again. And those are terraforming planets, and they brought them in to terraform the Earth, and then the reptilians took over, and then now they're taken back again. So the original terraformers have control of the moon now, and Mars is being cleaned up too as well. Mars, was the cabal got heavily involved in Mars and the moon, along with the reptilians and the Gray Alliance, and though they're being cleaned out right now too as well. So there's a huge cleanup process, and most of the galactic wars are over with, and Earth is in the boondocks. We're out in the far out reaches of the Milky Way, and they're saying, okay, time to, and a lot of those guys fled to Earth that should have been grabbed in the other galactic wars. And so now they're coming here to clean that up.
Okay, Vivian, sorry for cutting you off. I just wanted to get that one question.
Yeah.
I like that, Jeff. It was very refreshing. It's a little curiosity that it's a very endearing. You're like, hey, the laser.
One thing
I got like lists of questions for.
Yeah, we don't recommend people bringing their lasers up, but you can't really stop them. And if we see anybody misusing a laser right away, and if we see a plane coming over, we go, it's a plane. Put your lasers down. We make very clear.
Does it matter what type of laser? Because there's like red ones, blue ones.
We usually use green or purple ones. Yeah, stronger, actually. Right. Red ones you don't even do.
The red one just goes maybe 50 feet gun.
Yeah.
So.
But but we're very clear about that. No, especially if it's a plane or anything else. And every once in a while, somebody comes up and we just have to jump on them, say, hey, put that in your pocket. Don't bring it out. But we're really clear. If we see a plane coming in, we just go, it's a plane. Nobody. We try to just have two or three people we know pointing the ships out. So because they're these lasers, you can blind people with them. You got to be careful.
Do they make a noise? Those crafts that you see?
Usually no, but the big motherships, they have this deep pulse to them. Almost sounds like a cat purring in space. Some of those ships have a deep pulse, and some sound like ringing, like multiple layers of ringing. The plating ships have this sound, and it's multiple, but they can go stealth, and you don't hear anything or see anything. They have that ability too. So, and they're all different. I mean, a lot of times you'll see the bright orangish red ships. Well, they're in the Earth atmosphere. If they're close to the Earth, that's the frequencies they're using to stay aloft. When they go into space, it shifts into white or usually a white or a purple type color. But we have every color. We have red, green, pink, gold, every size, shape imaginable, egg-shaped ones, giant triangles. What are they called? Cylinder ships. We have footage of all of them, all the different ones.
Do you think that most of those crafts have got physical beings in them, or are they just energy beings that just have to go inside of a craft?
Well, some of the craft are physical, and then they raise the frequency of the craft, and they fly as more of an energy or a light. Mm-hmm. They can be physical. Some are less dense physical. Some are just pure energy ships, and some are magnetized light ships. And so they have beings on them accordingly. Some of the beings on a ship might just be like type of plasma being, or magnetized light being, and some of the ships are just Merkabahs. It's the being itself creating its own ship and flying, or a group of them flying together. Mm-hmm. And they create their own ship. So there's so many levels to this. Mm-hmm. And the problem is right now we have a major controlled narrative. I mean, we're still pushing a fuzzy tic tac that the military saw, and that's disclosure, and they.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah.
Yeah. And I got labeled just recently as the enemy of disclosure, which was really funny. And I said, well, no, I think I'm the enemy of posers, not disclosure, because, but by just telling the truth, it pisses people off. And, at the International UFO Congress, I was on stage, and I have the photograph and I have the video of it and everything. I was on stage, and I actually shifted into a blue and green light, like a light beam, and you can see the microphone. And I had this shift, and there's these other beings standing behind me, and it showed up on the film. And of course that was edited out, but we had people that were filming that got the photograph. And I was talking about all the higher dimensional beings and the higher frequencies and how we need to rise to the occasion to have contact. Well, whenever I go there, I'll do a talk, and then I don't get asked back for 5 years, and everybody has to process, and there's all the competition technology and all the nonsense. And it's crazy because it is a majorly controlled narrative. And a lot of times they've told me, do not talk about anything spiritual. Do not. And of course, I'm not going to do that. That's not my nature. But anyway, you would think after seeing that, they go, God, let's bring this guy back. This guy knows.
Yeah. Yeah. This guy's a smart flipper,
But no, you get totally censored. And then because I've been calling out a lot of the nonsense with the satanic Luciferian, like a lot of the major conferences, people don't realize some of those people speaking are pedophiles, just to be point blank. And so because I haven't named them, or they're shills, they're working with the government, and they're part of the controlled narrative to keep all the spiritual stuff out of ufology. And I know who these people are and everything. So now I'm a threat there. So I've been kind of canned out of that group too, which I'm fine with. I don't really, I tell people I have all the fame and notoriety I want. Matter of fact, I don't want it. I want to be free and go get out in nature and things like that. And so, but I will not, I am always going to speak about what's going to help humanity go forward and evolve and expand in consciousness and heal. I'm not going to keep it nuts and bolts or far away or make it all Nazi stuff or thing. That stuff did go on, but there's a lot more chapters to this.
Amazing. There's a lot of questions coming up in the chat room, and I've been applying myself to memorize which order they come in. But before we do so, yeah. And this is a great discussion, and it flows naturally, and this is what we want, a natural flow, an organic flow.
Yeah.
So
that's why I was saying, like it's kind of a joke, but it's really true. I said, we offer our condolences to those who have lost their friends and funders due to the tribunals, and there is true. I mean, there's a lot of people name dropping all these famous politicians and everything else. And yeah, I'm friends with them and them and them. And I said, yeah, that, they're all, a lot of them have already been dispatched with. Yeah. So, it's, people need to wake up and develop their own inner sensitivity and learn to sense, who these people
are. They will. They will.
It's coming. It's definitely coming.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, on a personal curiosity, before we dive into the questions from the audience, so I want to thank everyone for their patience. You mentioned something about Jesus, and I really caught my attention. Did I hear correctly that part of his physical vessel was part Andromedan? Because you talk about Andromedan. So I'm just curious to see. I want to go back to that a little bit about around Jesus, and then we'll go forward.
Yeah, he was both. Mary had very pure genetics from the ancient Lyrian colonies that were here, and those that they're the Lyrians are the root race for humanity. Ancient Lyra things started there, and they probably even started before that. We just don't have any reference points for that. But who knows? I mean, creation is so vast, and there's people billions of years ahead of us that we don't even know about. But she had the original genetics. She was very pure and very high genetics. And then they added the Andromedan. Some people say he was a very high, Gabriel was a very high Palladian, but There's a lot of different stories, and a lot of people just call them an archangel, which are actually mythologically known as Andromedans. But a lot of these angelic beings, they came here, they ate, they ate food, they hung out, they interacted with humans, they created hybrids, so it's a lot more to the story than people understand. But yeah, his physical body was actually genetically upgraded.
Okay.
And so basically he was half alien, but actually in the true sense of the word.
Mhm.
I always say, okay, if Joseph, basically Mary was from the stars, her seed, her genetics were from the stars, basically. So that, and then you've got Joseph saying, hey, this is not my kid. She's pregnant. I'm not going to marry her. So Gabriel appears to him and says, this is our child, your rumor is your own. So at least half of his was extraterrestrial. It was off world. It wasn't part of this dimension. You might say, whatever you want to call it. Any way you look at it, he's at least half. and but her genetics were actually even from the stars as well. So they had to do that. A lot of us right now, our souls have so much energy, and we're merging with our souls, and our bodies aren't doing well adapting. And so we're really having a lot of energy sickness and problems, and it's the body, the body trying to catch up to the soul, and the body has all this cellular memory in it. That stuff is it has a predestiny of its own, and the soul's coming in, and so there's a little bit of warring going on between the soul and the body. And that's what we're going through right now. The body's trying to catch up, and the soul's trying to bring the body up to and eventually we'll merge with our etheric body, which is our whole and healthy, perfect self, and the new technologies coming in. That's exactly what they do. They create a communication between your etheric body and your DNA or your physical body, and that communications reprograms everything. And that now you can also do that spiritually as well, but there's new technologies, and that's kind of how a lot of, like med beds and things like that, they create the divine blueprint. They realign your body with your own divine blueprint, whatever that is.
Beautiful. Yeah, I understand the feeling of having a physical body, half ET and then the soul coming in. That's pretty much my storyline. That's why I relate a lot to Master Sananda or Jesus, because the soul level, he is known as the soul emanation from Arcturus, but the physicality was made in a very distinct way, like you explained beautifully. So I relate to that a lot. Thank you so much, James.
I've actually merged with my, because everything's going on at once. So all your past lives are all happening at once on one level. And I've gone in meditation, I've merged with I have a feline body, a past life as one of the felines. And I merged in that body, and I was running on all fours. It was so fast. I was so agile. It was so, and then I come back to this body and I go, oh my God, what did I do? I traded that for this, what the heck am I doing here? So a lot of us have those memories of just unlimited bodies where we could bilocate and all these amazing things. But, and then we're in this kind of lethargic tank. We're in Earth suit down here right now. But it's all being shifted and changed.
Absolutely. Oh, I relate that very much so, being such a nocturne hybrid myself, that I can feel everything you just said. I really understand. And I do see the feline in you. That imprint is still very much there. Oh yeah, it's very obvious. You and I need to have another talk about all of this, because that's really dwelling into my realm, and it's wonderful. I would love to do that. James, we have some question, and I would like to give also some time that we have left. We got about 25 minutes left of the show today to this very unique episode, and I like to give a voice to the public. We have a question from Jeanette, and I know this question is something that has been on a lot of people's mind, is what is the best way to get in touch with our star family?
you know, to me, there's several things. One, release the past and heal up any old wounds and traumas and wrong conclusions from past experience. That's going to raise your frequency. And when you focus on love and joy and bliss and send it to them with the intention of, I want to connect, and qualified, I want to connect with the benevolent ones, that eventually, if you do that on a regular basis, you're going to attract that to you. You're going to create that reality. And so these are very spiritually and technologically advanced beings. They're very telepathic, very intuitive. And so as we rise in consciousness and put that out there, that intention out there, we're going to have that, and also too, at the same time, learn how to heal the negative ones, and learn how to get them out of your space. And what we do is the best way to do it is by calling on the benevolent ones. And so, you can call on Jesus, Babaji, Mary, the Kuan Yin, whoever you feel really connected to. There's some Buddha, these are all major masters. Those are the known ones. Or if you know your own main teacher and guide, some have several main teachers and guides. The more you connect with those, your star families, they can help you too clear these energies out. But it is important to maintain that sacred space and learn how to heal unseen negative influences and create a safe space. And that's what we have here. We create a safe space for people to explore their multidimensional selves. And the energy on the land is so strong here. As soon as they walk on the land, they feel it. They problem is getting people to leave when they come here. They come here and they go, I'm home. Where's my room?
Yeah, yes, from my room. Oh, where's the leads?
Yeah, you're supposed to come and experience this and then go create that in other places, take all this beautiful energy and wisdom with you and create your own little heaven on earth.
Absolutely right on, James. So people have been asking, you mentioned about the medicine wheel earlier on the ranch and everything. Is there a way for people to experience the medicine wheel, or does it have to be scheduled, or what is the process behind that?
Well, we do, as we've kind of been closed down, we're just getting opened up again, but we usually have we'll take people out and take them through the different connections, and some people can just go out there and just feel, stand in that one if you're guided to, but that's what it's set up to do. And then we have another big ring, it's called the Palladian Circle, and there's 7 posts in the ground, and it's where the Palladians have really anchored their energy, and people go there and have major experiences. And then we have a Lemurian hill. We have a hill that has the real strong Lemurian energy, where an old Lemurian master used to meditate on that hill, and that energy is really anchored into it. But the land itself, 2 ley lines intersect on the land, major ley lines, and then we're in what they call the purple zone. The government knows about this. We're in this weird magnetic anomaly zone where the veils are very thin between worlds. And then there's also little places on the land. They're little mini vortexes you can go to. There's an elemental one. There's other places on the land where you can go and connect with the nature spirits and things like that. So one thing too, we have Bigfoot coming through on a regular basis, and they're very, very sensitive, very, and they greet you with the mind you greet them with, basically. If you go after them and try to mess with them, it's really a bad idea. But if you go after them with love and offer them, give them an offering, take some organic apples out or some organic peanut butter and put your intention out, then you get a whole different experience. And they're very emotionally advanced, very spiritually advanced, and they're not a big dumb ape. They're very sensitive, and there's no saying. The Americans say here is that if you go looking for Bigfoot, you'll never find it, but if it wants to, it'll find you. So and that's, if you raise your consciousness, put the positive intent out, they'll show themselves to you and appear to you.
That is absolutely so right on. I had an experience with them, and it was absolutely in a very peaceful way. I was conducting, a circle right in nature on a ranch with a beautiful group. And we were conducting, just connecting with higher intelligence and balancing ourselves. And out of the trees, two of them came out in their higher form. And they went and they were looking at what we were doing. I'm like, whoa, well, welcome. Welcome to our circle. It was, we were very much in a cohesive group collective, heart connections. We were doing lots of heart connections work and connecting with the core of the earth, and also embracing the benevolent interstellar groups coming in as well. And the elementals were like very active. And you're right, they came and they were like watching what we were doing.
Yeah, they're very attracted to that. They sense and they feel
Yeah.
that energy, and and kids, they love kids, And we have a lot of kids that have seen. We have a young one here named Dalaki, but he kind of breaks the rules a lot. He interacts with people a lot more than he's supposed to. But he's pretty funny. He does stuff that's kind of hilarious, and he'll just appear to somebody and it shocks them. They go, "What the hell?" And then he just takes off and disappears. And you see him running through we have all these fruit trees and they're interlaced. They're really tight together, and there's all these branches, and you see him run through them, and the branches don't move. You go, wait a second, how did he go through there without moving the branches? It's like, but he loves to kind of mess with people.
Now, going through the branches, okay, is that the same as those crafts when you have them, and you see the craft going towards the mountain, and then the mountain glows, and then the craft goes through, right?
Yeah.
Is that the same thing?
Yeah. They have a door on the mountain. They open it up, and it's a light door, and it creates kind of a G-force. Everything expands out. They go in the mountain, it closes up, and it's just rock.
But it's a door, or does the rock dematerialize in such a way?
It dematerializes, and then they go in, and then it rematerializes. Well, some of the ships can just dematerialize and then go in themselves and then rematerialize as well, depending on how advanced their technology is. So
yeah, I think that's called equalization of matter when they do that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The ships can do that too. They can bilocate. We had one ship show us, it turned into 4 ships in front of us, and they're all the same ship, and they can bilocate, go jump forward, backward in time, and they showed us this technology, and I have it on film too, and it's just like, what the heck, that ship just turned into 3 or 4 ships, and so that really messes with your head, because so you've got 4 ships there, all the same people on each ship. And so if you're on one of those ships and you look over and you see yourself on the other ship, which one's real? Which one's you? Which one's, do you like that being, or do you not like him? Because it's going to reflect back to you everything about your, it's really funny. It really brings a lot of, and could you handle the fact that you just got dispersed into 4 different beings? Like it really messes with our ego, our mind, to be able to handle something like that.
Interesting. That is so cool. Since we've lost Vivian, but I do have a question for you.
Yeah.
The mud people, are they real?
Yeah, they are actually. They are. In the book I wrote about them, and they're people. We called them mud people. That was another lifetime of mine when I was actually a kind of like a galactic police force. We had really dark purple outfits on and extremely well trained and everything. But I felt, we're back. Yeah, I felt like it was the problem was our uniforms. We could have gotten everything we needed there if we weren't wearing the uniforms. And so I told him, I said, we have this reputation as do not mess with these guys. They're kind of a galactic police force, and I said, so that right there creates a dissension and a division. And I said, no, we could go in there. I go, why are we going in there flying our colors and everything else? Why don't we just put on the garb of the people there and go in and get what we need and go out?
Mm-hmm.
and so that was like a lifetime of mine. But yeah, they were kind of a primitive people, and they put mud on their legs, and it was a religion that they put mud on their legs, and what they didn't realize, the master that taught them that, he was only putting mud on his legs to keep the parasites from biting, because on that plant there's a lot of parasites and they'd bite your legs. And so you'd put the mud on your legs and you can walk around.
Okay, gotcha.
They wouldn't jump and bite you, mosquitoes or what, or ticks or fleas. I don't know what they were, but it became a religion. It's actually something that was really practical when it started, but then it became a religion because this one master got up and did it every morning. So.
Welcome back, Viviane.
Okay, so everybody stay on. I have no idea what happened. You were talking about, James, you were talking about the Bigfoot and that energy came through. And then I saw from StreamYard, they said, no more connections. Everything was taken out. So very interesting. Very interesting.
I don't know why, but I did a show before with the LA station, and they said, we have 6 lines coming in here, and every line is down. They said, I don't know who doesn't want you to speak, but they're good. They took down our lines.
Yeah, but that happens, being an Arcturian in physical incarnation, let me tell you that happens a lot. But anyway, I'm glad everything we're continuing. I do have a question for you, James, if that's okay.
Sure.
So something that also I read about on the chat room, people asking about, people are getting really NC. We're ready to move on to the new timeline. We're ready to be in that direction. And then you mentioned at the beginning of the show that it will be those who will continue in density in different ways. And I've seen that too. I've been shown the population of the Earth and how things are moving. What do you think will happen? Is that those people who are not ready, are they going to be physically taking on to different timelines? Or what is your understanding of this?
Personally, I'm not sure what's going to happen, but I'll tell you what I've been told. I was told a long time ago, back in the late 70s, that Babaji was talking, and he said there was going to be a bifurcation process where the polarities were going to get stronger and stronger and stronger, and then they're going to start pulling it apart, and there'd actually be 2 Earths. And one group would go on business as usual in the old programs, and the other Earth would create a whole new Earth that they'd move into enlightenment and things like that. And they showed me that there's actually eight Earths right now simultaneously going on. And it's hard for people to wrap their heads around, but we can actually jump back and forth between these different Earths. And it really messes with your mind when you think about it. There could be 8 more of you out there, each expressing.
God, I hope not.
Yeah, on a different level. And so I've seen it. It's really rough because you really think about it. If everything is going on at once on a spiritual level, the timeline, you can go forward or backward anywhere on that timeline and experience things. And you've had all these multiple lives in different civilizations, and it's all going on at once. And to integrate that is really intense. But I had one time I was meditating, and this being came to me, and he was this Viking, this big, tall Viking being. And he's gone, his name was Uad, and he goes, I'm your soul, I'm your soul. I go, okay, great. It's like, whatever, and then this other being came to me, and he had like a turban on, wearing all white and everything. And his name was Tasamara, and he goes, I'm your Christ self on that level. And then another being came to me and said, I'm this guy on this level. And so I'm having an identity crisis. I'm like flipping out. I go, look, I know most of my past lives. I've done everything from being a road bandit to cripple in England, to kings and princes, to lamas and yogis. I have memories of all those. And then I have these other dimensional aspects of myself too. And so I was having a meltdown because I was just going, well, who in the hell am I? I mean, and so Ezekiel came in, which is on the 7th dimension. It's Cassia and Ezekiel who merged together. And I work with that energy a lot. And the other beings, the Andromedans, call him the god of eternal bliss, but it's actually both male and female. It's a merge. And you just get this big grin when that energy comes in. It's just pure bliss energy. And so what happened was, I asked him, I go, well, who, this guy's saying he's me, this guy's saying this other life, I said, what's going on here? And then Kaziko goes, it's all you. It's all you. And he started talking about, all your personal problems are coming from you thinking you're a person, or misidentification. And he said, within you is the one consciousness that encompasses all consciousness on all planes and dimensions. In your most unlimited form, it's all you, and I just let go of it. After that, I just let go of my identity. I don't even care about my identity anymore. You don't need it. It's not really necessary. And it's running in there, people, you do need an ego to function down here, but it just needs to come into alignment with your multidimensional self. And so, that most of that just goes away, and you're free. There's nobody to argue with, nobody to defend, nobody, you're just whatever, everybody can do their own thing. Even imagination is real on the level of imagination. So you don't have to say, no, that's wrong, or that's not right, because everybody's creating their own reality, and on some level, everything's real, and it just frees you from all of that.
What about the deja vu? Do you think that's got something to do with many James Gillians out there?
Yeah. People, a lot of deja vus are past life memories, and things of that nature, or other dimensional experiences, and that's what people are having with the deja vu things.
Right.
Yes, and sometimes it's very strong when they feel like coming back home, like whether it's a country, a land, an aspect of the earth. And I said, it brings that aspect of not only déjà vu, which is a French word, by the way, déjà vu, and it's also creates such an experience around it, and it brings that aspect back to them. I've seen that, in clients, and also I experienced that myself. Does it happen to you, James?
Yeah, like England, I'm fully aware of some of my lifetimes in England. They're terrible, and so I don't even go to England, because when I go there, my body reacts to it, and so I go, okay, I'm just going to stay away from England right now until I'm just totally clear of all that. But definitely, yeah, there's so many people. You go to a certain area, and you may have been a Native American in that lifetime there, and you feel this real oneness with the land and everything. Or you could have been an ancient Lemurian or Atlantean, or, so many different countries. You go to them, and all of a sudden you go, I've been here before. This feels natural, because you have, you've had incarnations there, and that's pretty common, basically.
Very true. So there's only about 8 minutes left of the show, and usually what we do, one of the uniqueness about us, is that we do usually a clearing. We help to bring the energy. Everything has been shared, talked about, the frequency. We just bring everything into a conduit, and usually I'm the one who will conduct the clearing, or just a bringing way of bringing into cohesiveness. I think it would be amazing, James, if you would accept, if it's comfortable for you, maybe to do just a quick clearing for everyone on the show, to bring that energy into unity consciousness for us today.
Yeah, I'm totally 100% in that.
Yay!
Did you want me to do it, or do you want to do it? I'd like to see your form of doing it.
Ready for Vivian's father.
Oh, yeah. Oh, maybe you can bring me on your show, and then we can really bring the Nocturnes and my father and talk about all of this.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we'll definitely do that.
Yeah,
we'll set that up.
I would love that. Absolutely that. Well, today, since you are our very guest of honor, of course, you have first choice.
Boy. Well, my clearing technique is actually it's a spinoff from the teachings of the Inner Christ and their technique, and I've just kind of added to it, expanded on it. and it's in all of my books. It's on the website for free and everything else. So that's easily accessible to anybody that wants to do that or learn from it. I mean, while we're talking, I'm clearing anyway. I'm actually clearing everybody that's listening to this, so that's ongoing. Another part of me is doing that, but I'd love to hear yours. I'll just go along with yours and hear how you do things.
Okay, with joy, of course. So, everyone, we want to take everyone who has been with us during the entire time and still are with us. Just stay tuned. We are about just to bring into energy cohesiveness. Everything has been shared. We are so grateful and thrilled for James to be here with us today in spite of a very busy schedule. And of course, Jeff and I are always happy to welcome you here, James. And the door is always open to you at any time. That is, I'm sure that Jeff will go like, yes, 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 guaranteed. So let's just bring ourselves into centerness. If you would, everyone, please go ahead and close your eyes. Thank you. And let us breathe. Let's just feel the energy, the sacred life force energy flowing through you. To feel this divine energy that you are as eternal divine essence of light, pure and pristine. So we invite you today to simply breathe deeply and slowly into the consciousness of your heart, the very core of your being, to feel this inner gateway within you, connecting you to all there is, and all there is you. Just feel this energy flowing gracefully through your spine, throughout the quantum field of each chakra, expanding into your biofield, into your golden web of light. It's a time to be aligned and grounded into who you are, and know that you are meant to be on this earth and you are here by soul design, and you are loved and appreciated beyond expression. So let's just take a deep breath to the gateway of your heart and release. Release and let go of all that no longer serve. Allow the illusion to leave your field, your body, your mind, your essence. Remember that your light has the power to transcend everything. And together we are far more powerful than we can ever be apart. Just let us breathe in unity consciousness, in oneness. One more deep breath to your heart. Breathe in love and exhale light. Expand light in and around you, everywhere around the globe, in every particle of life. Beautiful. You're now welcome to open your eyes and return to your sacred space. Yes, thank you, everyone. Perfect.
That was beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. I felt the energy, the eloquence of my team coming through.
Like, boom, something just went, went through
You
and
felt,
out. Yeah.
oh, wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much, James. I felt that it was very much flowing. I can feel a collective. The energy was very graceful, very eloquent for all of us.
Yeah, I'll send this
Amazing.
out over my list too as well to people. I think it's real important to hear some really good information came through.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Always a joy, a pleasure. We're here to be of service. We're here to serve the light and beyond. And this is what we're here for. We're here to serve. This is something that's very important. And this is something we also see emerging more and more as a desire in people's soul and heart. And this is why we're returning to that collective way of living and also relating to one another with nature, animals, sacredness of life, honoring one another, and also being able to change our vibratory state to welcome also working with higher intelligence and beyond. So Absolutely amazing. I am full of bliss and joy and gratitude for both of you, actually, both you, James, for being here and to be of service. Thank you for being on the planet. Thank you for the ranch. Thank you for everything that you do. I know that it's absolutely essential. I want to thank also my dear friend and co-host Jeff for
Yeah.
also doing amazing work. And we are going to celebrate the Infinite Star Connection's first year anniversary, everyone. We are going to already 1 year and we're standing strong. We're continuing uh, month after month. So we're going to be back here on Sunday, June 20th to celebrate our first year anniversary. There's going to be special. There's going to be surprises. There's going to be amazing, amazing frequencies and much more. But today, James, it's about you. And just really quickly, do you want to mention the conference coming up in July? I think it's July.
Yeah, the 15th and that weekend. Yeah, we have a pretty good lineup. We're still confirming some people, but everything's on the website. It's going up right now. But just a great lineup, and it's just too much to go into right now. But just be sure and check it out. And I mean, where else can you go to a conference and then be in this beautiful natural surrounding, and then go out in the evening and watch ships?
Right.
And multidimensional stuff going on too. It's quite an amazing experience. So, a lot of like-minded people come here. It's like the big extended family, and it's just the frequencies are amazing when we all get together like that. But and I really want to thank both of you for the work that you're doing and the avenue for this information to get out, and you know, whatever I can do to support that and get this, you know, get more people to your side, I'll do.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So does
Thank
the
you,
party.
James. Yeah, for the Ponti, the Octurns, everyone. And of course, maybe next year, maybe, you know, can be part of your amazing conference and bring
Yeah,
another level of uplifting energies. And
we'll
that would
definitely
be,
do that next year. The we had a very limited amount of space for speakers, and we have this massive list of people that want to come and speak. And I kind of turned that over to the other people. I said, I don't want to get into politics of all this, you know, because these are a lot of them are my friends and people I know, and so we're still trying to scramble to put this thing together. But I think we're going to have 2 conferences or a week-long one to cover everybody, you know, which will probably come to fruition.
That would be cool. A nice.
We need a bigger venue, like a massive hotel or something, and go for a week and to cover everybody.
I'm in on that.
what's that, Jeff?
So I will go for that.
Yeah, sounds good. Let's make it happen. May not have to, because everything we're talking about is going to manifest by then. Yeah, they're all going to show up. They're going to be jockeying for parking space in the skies pretty soon. But yeah, so hopefully we'll get through that. I think I see everything. I told everybody the last week of May, there's going to be all these events unfolding really fast. I go watch, but you're not going to hear about them. And you're going to start hearing about them in June on, and everything's going to get exposed, you know, and turned out for what it is. And then by August, most of it's going to be pretty much finished off. That's what I've been getting. Everybody's going, well, wait, they're talking a year out. And I go, no, it's not going to, not with the frequencies coming in. It's not going to, you know, the negative is not going to be able to maintain itself. Too much energy.
I agree. Well, on behalf of all there is and beyond, thank you again so much, James. Let's stay connected. Definitely, the door is open to you here anytime. Jeff, my friend, thank you. I want to thank everyone we have a record of attendance today. I mean, so many have tuned in live on many channels to be here with you, James, and with us. Join us on Sunday, June 20th for our 1-year anniversary celebration. And let's bring joy back into our life and into, you know, our soul and heart and our mind, and spread that joy everywhere. James, hopefully we'll see you at the conference. Otherwise, we will stay connected. So much love to all of you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, James.